Hello and welcome to the Bootroom show on the Kenn7 podcast. Just a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, pause the video now, click the subscribe button and the bell for notifications, and also give the video a like. And don't forget to write some comments if you've got any questions. Joining me today are the sons of three Anfield legends, Paul Dalglish, Paul Moran and Ste Evans. Welcome, boys. Today we're going to have a chat about a recent draw with West Brom and the review of the season so far and a quick preview of the Newcastle game. Steve, I'll come to you first. The lineup for West Brom was pretty strong. Did you have any misgivings going into the game?
I'm one of them people that when I know there's going to be a team who's going to come, the need for someone like Ginny and Henderson who's going to sit in deep. You know, I would like to see maybe Oxlade-Chamberlain come in there, or maybe even a Minamino who come and have a little, who's got a bit of guard on the box. But I wasn't surprised the team. I thought it looked pretty much picked itself. But I thought it could have been maybe changed a bit earlier second half when it wasn't going so well. But I thought it was it's the strongest team on paper, so I wasn't surprised that he went with that one at the start, really.
You've got Curtis Jones there, though, as well, and he can break the lines and move forward. So he'd had a little go, but you fancied a bit more, did you?
Yeah, I just think the three lads in midfield just seem to take it in turn to sit deep and get the ball off the centre half and just kind of pass it sideways, really. It was one of them where no one seemed to want to take a chance. Curtis likes to go forward with the ball, but it didn't really seem... I thought first half we did okay with it. We were a bit more adventurous, but second half we looked all out of ideas. So I probably would have liked to have seen it change a bit quicker second half, but I wasn't surprised he went with the team that he did. That he picked to start with. I said it's his strongest 11. It's one he probably thought could have got the job done.
Paul, Steve said there that we started the game well, and Sadio scored a great goal. Obviously, was there anything in the first half that you felt we could have done better other than score?
Well, no, I mean, that's the obvious thing, is only getting the one goal. One of them other chances goes in and it changes the whole game. They're obviously happy at 1-0 because they never changed the 5-5 formation they were in. Second half, they started coming forward a bit more, but certainly not putting us under a great deal of pressure. I think the second goal, not getting the second goal, is what caused all the problems. You know, and everyone talking about the team, that team should be beating West Brom. Because if you look at any team we come up against, if you put player for player, I say City a little bit, but we should beat 18 out the 19 teams there most times you play them. And you just have that on Sunday where chances were going begging, there was misses. And in the end, it bit us come back to bite us because we never got the second goal. They obviously got the equaliser. And frankly, I don't think we looked like scoring in the second half, to be honest. I think we would sit back on it.
I'd agree with that. Paul D., everyone's talking about it as a Big Sam masterclass, which particularly annoys me. From a tactical point of view, what did you think about the performance and how he set them up?
Oh, Big Sam had trouble with his mask. He couldn't fit it over his nose and his mouth. That was the masterclass that I was looking at. Couldn't fit. But no, for me, look, I got a lot of respect for every type of football that's played. You know, if someone comes to Anfield, it's almost a form of respect, right? I remember when people used to come to Anfield and show us no respect. There have been, over recent years. And that's a sign of respect. I saw, I know Paul said it was a 5-5, but I think it was almost a 6-4 at times, where it was like a line of 6 and then 4 in front. And I've never seen that. I've seen Mourinho come, and I've seen teams come and they've gone with attacked in a 4-3-3, but defended in a 6-3-1, where they've had like the wing backs have tracked our full backs, and then a line of 6 and a 3. But they still had an outlet with the 1. So I don't really remember seeing that setup. And I was thinking, this could go either way. And then when we scored after 10 minutes, I just started laughing. I was like, and I shouted down to my wife, who knows nothing about football. I said, they've set up in the most defensive formation ever, and we scored after 10 minutes. And I thought it was game over. I genuinely did. After we scored after 10 minutes, I thought game over. And to be honest with you, I think you've got to look at these results with a little bit of context. We're devastated when we drew a game, when a team's come and parked a bus, against us. And I think that we've got to have a little bit of context. This is arguably, and we've been lucky enough to watch some great Liverpool teams, but this is arguably as good as anything we've ever seen. And for them for the level of expectation that we have for the players now is so high that a 1-1 draw home to West Brom is like a real cause for disappointment. And it should be because of the level of expectation the team sent. But for me, it was, you know, you've got to look how many games we've played, short period of time, the injuries. We're going to be a yard off in certain games. And I think, you know, we just need to, football's about taking chances. And to be honest with you, in the first half, we should have put the game to bed.
Steve, part of Big Sam's plan there is they get a foothold in the game. They keep us out, they frustrate us, they force us into having a lack of ideas, I think. Do you think that's the type of football you'd like to watch every week?
It could be, of course not. But that's what Sam Allardyce does, or these teams do. It's about survival for them. It's not about playing entertainment football. He's not gone there to stop, make them win trophies. He's gone there to try and keep them up. And you know what he's about. I mean, it's not rocket science what he does. He gets them a bit fitter. He sits them in deep. He frustrates teams, and he'll try and snatch one on the break. I thought we made that a bit easy for them second half. By the way, we played. I thought we come out second half thinking they were going to sit here as they did, but they came out on a bit of a go second half. To be fair, West Brom, and we gifted them a couple of corners, which is, you know, absolutely not what to do against teams like that, because they will see that as their biggest threat. And then in the end, that was our doing with the equaliser as well. It was a complete gift of a corner. They had one before that as well. I think of Andy Robertson. You know, it's never pretty football, but this is why Sam Allardyce has come in and got so many jobs in the past, because, you know, we get teams organised. As I said, he gets them defensive, gets them hard to beat, and he nicks points here and there. And this is why people go to him to try and save the club from relegation. Would I watch it every week? Would I? No chance. It's
a game of patience, right, with him. He kind of plays the waiting game where he just waits and waits and waits just for an opportunity and hopes that's enough to get something out of the game. But do you know when a lot of teams used to do this to Liverpool, you know, but when we were just first years under Jurgen Klopp, teams would come and sit in. And it was almost when we had Coutinho, you know, it was when having that ability to score from 20, 25 yards with the long range to break down the deep block, you know, or even you're looking at it going, would it be beneficial to have like a John Toshak in the middle of the box, so that when you're putting that many crosses in the first half, just as an option when a team sits in, you've got a little bit more threat to attack it. But it's, you know, it's the first time really that I can remember at Anfield where a team sat in, obviously, especially this year, that we've not found a solution with the players that we've got. So I think we've got to look at the big picture and go, okay, there's a lot of teams coming and sat in, defended deep, compacted the space in behind, defended crosses, but we've always managed to score. This was the first time really where we've not managed to do that. So, you know, I'm a big believer that if it's not broke, don't try and fix it. And you know, they are the options, aren't they, really? Other than what we've got, the options are either have someone who can score from distance or have a bit more presence in the box when the crosses come in.
Well, I mean, with the substitutions, Paul M, he obviously brings Oxlade-Chamberlain on, doesn't he? And Oxlade-Chamberlain can blam one in from outside the box. Do you think the substitutions could have been earlier?
Well, you're looking at this. When he brought the subs on, was it 1-0 when he brought them on, or they equalised by then? I can't remember when they come on.
I think equalised, yeah. As soon as he equalised, he brought them on.
Well, it's one of them things. I always remember, you know, I was talking like about dads and that. My dad used to say, as Paul's just said, if it's not broken, don't fix it. You 1-0 up. You start bringing subs on and it all goes wrong from that point. Everyone says, well, you should have brought the subs on earlier type of thing once West Brom scored. Now, when we brought Oxlade-Chamberlain on, Paul's saying about someone scoring a worldie from 25 yards, which he has done for us. It's all the talk comes after the game and after the 1-1.
Goal, yeah.
You know, they're doing it during the game. He's not bringing Oxlade-Chamberlain on. He's just sitting next to him on the bench saying, look, I'm going to wait till they equalise before I bring it on. So we're 1-0 up. And the chances are there for 2-0. You know, we're not desperately defending against West Brom. So we go 2-0 up and then ends up being 3-0, 3-1. Everyone says, oh, well, I'm glad he didn't bring any subs on. But then because it goes wrong at the end in that one-off thing, everyone thinks, well, you should have done this. It's all based on the result rather than what's actually happening in that 90 minutes. The only thing I thought we did on Sunday particularly wrong was we were playing too slow for how they were. We weren't, as you know, putting balls in the box early. We weren't doing nothing. There was lots of passing in midfield. It was 83% possession, which, you know, it's all the statistics come out now. But We had 83% possession in the game, but most of that was 20 yards inside their half. It's not dangerous possession, if you like, if that's the best of phrase. I just think we play too slow sometimes. It's like you watch us the last few years. I've always been happy when not when they're attacking, but when the other team's in our half. I always think we're better then, up to a point, because we just get it and we're away. And when teams do what they did, you've got nowhere to go. You're just running into people. So, as you say, you might have to think of a new way of playing against teams like that if someone else does it. But not many teams do it. Not many teams play that defensive.
West Brom are very good at slowing it down. Someone like Sam Allardyce knows that we're all about tempo.
Yeah, that's it. The speed of the game, trying to keep us moving about. And that.
One of the things he will say, I'll go, listen, any chance you get, stand on it, slow it down. The keeper was taking ages. Any throw was taking ages. We just couldn't get any rhythm going at all, really. I mean, it's a weird thing to say because we have moments about playing so many games in a short space of time. But I think having 8 days off didn't do us any good either, because I think Jürgen would have liked a bit of more rhythm in his legs. Like he does like rhythm in legs of players, and 8 days off was probably a little bit too long for him, if anything, really. And that kind of showed again. We looked a little bit stale and a little bit all out of ideas far too early for me, I think.
Do you think to your point though, it was a definite tactic to slow the game down? I mean, I remember the first rowing that came Cop End, and it took ages, you know, and I think that Liverpool like that rhythm, don't they? They like that rhythm, and they like to dictate the tempo of the game. But my biggest concern is I've not seen that in Anfield, a 6 and a 4. But it was if teams kind of look at that and go, okay, maybe we'll try that. Fucking the games are going to be boring to watch, because it was like watching paint dry, wasn't it? I tuned out halfway through the first half when it was just boring, wasn't it? It was just they just absolutely ruined the spectacle.
Yeah, but they're not. There's no fans there, so they're not bothered. I know there was 2,000 there, but they got no one on the back. They'd have 54,000 on the back playing like that normally. And they were the best will in the world. I was at the Tottenham game the other week. You're not making that much noise, no matter what it sounds like while you're actually in it. It sounds loud while you're in it, but they can play. I mean, they can play like that at home now. They couldn't play like that at home in a normal season with crowds, because I don't think their home crowd would let them do that. But now there's no crowd there, so they'll just let them play like that. There's no one to stop them.
You were there, Steve, weren't you? You were at the game, so it seemed on the TV. Obviously, I'm over the other side of the pond. It seemed like there was a real kind of frustration creeping in during the game. Did you feel that? It just seemed like it was just, I don't know. And it seemed to, like, the last few minutes, I've never seen like that nervy defence. There was like mistakes that we've never normally made. It was bizarre. It
was just like a normal sort of game. You could almost see what was coming, really, and the fans in the car. I mean, obviously there's only 1,500 in the car, but the fans could almost see us becoming a bit stale. You could see them getting into the game more, us making mistakes, giving corners where we shouldn't do it, and you know the frustration was there. You're only winning by 1 goal. Results have gone your way. You know, that weekend for the other teams dropping points as well. Everyone's desperate to kind of take a stranglehold on the league title race, and so people get frustrated. The Cop was getting a bit nervous towards the end, because we all know what a Sam Allardyce team does. What other teams come who sit in and play that defensive style, they just frustrate you, and it's frustrating to watch, because once they get a chance they didn't take it, then it's going to be hard to break them down again, because they've got 11 men behind the ball, basically camped at the edge of the box, and it's really, really tough.
Leaving the West Brom game for now, let's just have a little chat about how we feel we've done this season. So, just coming to you, Paul M. How do you think it's gone so far?
Well, if you look at the league table, it's gone all right.
Love it.
He's up by 3 points. I must admit, I'm much more relaxed watching the games this season than I have been for a long time. It's probably because we won the league last year. So you just think now, all right, we're top of the league now. But last season was such a one-off season, especially with everything that happened, including, stopping in March and playing behind closed doors and winning it with no one there. It's just that I think this season, you wouldn't say it's not anti-climax, isn't the right word, but we're never going to do what we did last season. And I think some of the fans think, we're going to win another 34 games or whatever it was on the trot, but the run we had at the start. And then when we do draw against someone, like against the Fulham game, for instance, when we were awful in the first half, we were decent in the second half. They just sort of like, why aren't we doing what we did last season? Last season was just a one-off. And it was a one-off that we've been waiting for a long time, to be fair. But I was glad it did. I've got no problems with this season. I was just sitting on Sunday watching the match with a few beers. And at the end, I was surprised with, I look on Twitter and Facebook and that, and some of the things that are getting said. You think, you're not watching the same thing I'm watching. It wasn't a good performance, but it's not. We need to do this. We need to sign this one. We need to do this. Get rid of him. He needs to go. It's just a game. Get on with it. Like, if I don't say it's just a game, I don't mean that in the way women say it to you when you've just let a goal in the last minute and they go, oh, it's just a game. It isn't like. But it's a one game out of 38. And you said there, how's the season going? Well, someone said to you at the start, you'd be top of Christmas by 3 points. You said, well, that'd be by 14 or 17. I was more nervous last season when we were 18 points clear than I am now, to be honest. It was just because of that long time for waiting. Now, we've done it last season now, so we just see how we go this season. Just sit back and enjoy it. Whether it's because I'm 58 now, I've mellowed a bit, I don't know, because I used to sit by Steve.
You're younger than that, Paul. Younger than that.
No. No, I used to sit by Ste at the matches, and he'll know that I used to get involved in the games type of thing a little bit.
Yeah. My mum still blames me for swearing so much. He blames it all on you. She said, Paul Moran now, you should watch the game. It's all his fault.
We were doing quite well at that period as well, so I'm not quite sure I was swearing at all the time. It's just been a natural reaction.
Yeah, you're always pretty vocal, Paul. I'll give you that, definitely.
I'm mellowed now.
People forget, don't they? I think people forget that there was bad performances when we won everything as well. We didn't play well every game. In fact, there was probably more bad performances back then than what there is now. But I think now with the social media brigade, everyone's always looking for perfection. And that's why, it's never going to be perfect. The last 2 years have been about as perfect as they can be, really, in terms of the points on the board. But if you expect perfection, you're going to be disappointed. The sign of a great team for me is ones that don't need to play well all the time to get points. And I think that's what we've had in the last 2 years. We've always found a way. And the other sign for me is what we've shown under Jurgen is an ability to respond to setbacks. We have an unbelievable season 2 years ago, lose to a point to Man City, the league, come back the next season and win it. We lose in the final to Real Madrid, come back the next year and win the Champions League. This team doesn't let anything phase it. And I think it's, that was for me what Liverpool was built on. The values that we were brought up on was, it's not going to be perfect, but as long as you're better than anybody else, you win the league at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's true.
I think this season's skewed. Well, the last 2 seasons have been skewed by how good Man City have gone, and I think as fans we've felt that we've had to be perfect. I don't think this season's like that. This season very much feels like a normal season where people can lose. Do you agree with me, Evo? Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. Obviously, back in the day, look at something like, if you ever watch Premier League years on Sky Sports or stuff like that, you see title races where like Man United come from 12 points behind with 15 games to go, and they win the league by 9 points or 6 points, and just that was how it was done. But the last 3 seasons have been a complete anomaly. The level of football being played by Manchester City and Liverpool is just like nothing that's ever been seen before in the league, and to keep that intensity up for more than 2 seasons, I think is difficult. I think you saw a drop off. I think Man City did when they were back to back, and obviously we became second by a point. And then you see the drop off in their intensity that the season we won it last year. It's so difficult to play football at that level and constantly win. It just doesn't happen. So once we'd won it and we got there over the line, I think this season we were always going to see a bit of a drop off in intensity, which we have done. I think the lack of fans in grounds has helped certain teams. I don't think it helps us at all. But you see the likes of Villa, I think, Everton, these teams who have no pressure from fans. The fans like Villa fans, Everton fans, they demand good football, they demand results, and having empty stadiums, just let them express themselves a little bit and have no fear. And I think it's why you've seen some mad results like the Villa one, which we were crapped at anyway. But you've seen some teams up there challenging who wouldn't normally be challenging because there's obviously different. They feel like there's different pressures when they play when there's fans in the ground. As I said, I'm made up where we are at the moment. It feels like we could have been a little bit better. There's frustrating results have been and gone with the Brighton one, the Fulham, the Derby, which was obviously as frustrating as it gets. But you feel if you could have got another couple of wins out of them 4, including the one against West Brom, then just think the position, the league will be sort of getting away from everyone else already. So we're in a fantastic position. 3 points clear. But that's getting players back fit as well. I'm made up with it. I think we're doing great.
Paul, we've dealt with like a unbelievable injury list. I mean, if you listed the injuries and the players that we've lost, is quite incredible. The fact that we're still top of the league is unbelievable. Do you think that we need to maybe dip into the transfer market coming up, or would you be happy to go with, well, the obvious ones, centre back? Would you be happy to go with Reece Williams? I think the question actually is, what do you think he'll do, and what would you do? 2 different things, obviously.
Well, you talk about your centre halves. Obviously, Matip did something again on Sunday. So I don't know. Has anyone said how long he's out for? Has there been any time put on his injury?
3 or 4 months with us.
Oh, did he? Oh, no.
Done, yeah.
Well, no disrespect to. I mean, Fabinho's been brilliant playing centre half, and someone's having a go at him for not winning headers. So he's doing everything else, and he's challenging for the headers, whether he's winning or not. He's letting people head the ball. I mean, he might well have got fouled on Sunday, but that's another discussion. I don't think. I thought that Phillips lad looked good when he's played. And that Phillips, I think he's. But is he on the leagues? Can he play in the league? Is he in the league squad?
Yeah. Not in the Champions League, but he can play in the league.
Well, I mean, you would think. I thought he did slightly better than the other lad out of the 2 of them. I thought Phillips did better out the 2. But the lad on Sunday, he needs someone with him. He needs like Matip with him, I think, guiding him through. We're not going to go Fabinho, but he needs a bigger centre half with him. But do you look all right? I wouldn't sign anyone in January. I'd leave it as it is.
Do you agree with that, Paul?
I think we will sign. I think we'll sign a centre back. I think we'll definitely bring one in. Would I do it? I think Phillips has got good potential. He's grown into his body. I think still, he still looks like he's got to fill out. And I think, as Paul said, he's much better when he's got an experienced centre back next to him to talk him through the game, much like Carra did with John Flanagan when he came in, talking them through the game. It's a huge benefit. Phillips, yeah, I think he's done fine. He looks like, he doesn't look like a Liverpool player though, does he? When he's playing, he does all right, but he just doesn't look like what you expect a Liverpool centre-back to look like. He looks like he'd fit into a Sam Allardyce team or something like that. And that's no disrespect. It's just player profile. So I think that we'll probably bring in a centre-back that allows us to continue to play a high line, press high, and defend the big spaces in behind, because I just don't. I think when I made the decision that I would sign one was when, I think it was in the second half, Phillips chased someone over the top. He never scored though. It was a ball over the top, and I think Alisson saved it.
He saved it, didn't he?
He looked a little bit static, to be honest, when he was trying to chase someone in behind. So I think we will, just for the way we want to play, I think we have to adapt a little bit if we don't have a centre-back that can defend big spaces.
Well, the big question there is who would you bring in? Who do you think could play that role?
Well, I think if you look at the fella from Ajax who played that Shaw's, the centre half, I like the look of him. He looked a big tall blonde lad. He looked really quick, aggressive on the front foot. They play a high line as well. He was someone I looked at and went, I like him. He sort of kept Sadio Mane quite quiet that game for me, and I liked him a lot. They're probably banging Reading as a brick wall that they've drawn Red Bull in the Champions League because they like the 2. I reckon they like the noises are they like the 2 centre halves for them, Upamecano and Canate. I think they both been watched. I think or both like both of them are really really good players in their own right. Both of them absolute monsters. They are huge fellas. And whoever they bring in has got to be quick and has got to be elite in the air. That they're the main two things for me. And there's not loads knocking about. I think especially the Red Bull ones are gone now because we're playing in the Champions League, so there's no chance we're getting them. So they're all for me as if they fancy this kid from Ajax, which I think is a decent player from what I've seen so far. But it's it's Michael Edwards will have a list, I'm sure. Early.
Yeah, I think as well. You've got to look at it as well. I'm a player, and obviously everybody. it's the benefit, and it also hurts Liverpool how good we are at the moment and how good Van Dijk is and Gomez, and because the centre back's looking at it and going, okay, I signed for Liverpool, but what happens when everyone's fit? You know, what it does is it limits your amount of players that you can look at, because there's some of maybe the up and coming players that you might look at. Liverpool like to sign younger players. They might look at it and go, well, I need to play. So I'll play now, but what happens when Gomez is fit? Like, who's ahead of who? And also, just the last bit is, there's no point spending money unless who we can find is better than what we've got. So they've got to look and go, okay, what can we bring in that is better than Phillips, you know, and the young kid as well. And if we can, then great. But if we can't, then, you know, I still think we've got good enough players to win the league. I really do. But I do think that if we got a centre back in the right profile, it would make that a little bit easier.
Paul, just to come back to you on that, I mean, you've been a player yourself, and you know what players are like ego-wise. If I'm a player and I rate myself, I'm looking at our team going, I can take Gomez's place when he comes back.
But then someone at that level, Gav, is going to cost a lot of money. We talk about Konate and Koulibaly's and, you know, Upamecano's. You're talking 80, 90 million. Liverpool aren't going to spend that. You know, they're not going to spend that. That's Van Dijk money, you know, for them. And Liverpool aren't going to spend that. You know, they're going to look for a deal like a Minamino, you know, or a Jota, you know, someone who they can pick up, someone who's not a true world-class player now, but somebody who might be a little bit undervalued in a certain market. So they'll be looking in places like France, as Steve said, Holland, places where the players are a little bit cheaper than buying them in other countries.
The name that keeps coming up is Kabak. Steve, I don't know whether you know much about him.
Not loads, no. I know he's been touted about. I've seen him mentioned a few times on Twitter, and I think I've read a couple of articles on him. Seems to be half decent, but again, I'm not convinced by. If you look at the stats, as I said before, I think we're only getting someone in who's going to be elite in the air, and I'm not too sure he is. I'm not too sure how tall he is. If he's going to go with Fabinho for the rest of the season, I think Fabinho, when he works in centre half, you've got someone who's 6'3", 6'4" next to him who's going to be winning all the headers, because as good as Fabinho is, he's not the tallest and he doesn't win that many headers as a centre half. So whoever they bring in is going to be, as I said, that's going to be elite level in the air. I'm not too sure Kabak is. I don't know loads about it. To be fair, I'm not going to say I've watched too much about him, but I think if, you know, the noise seems to be that there is interest there. So, you know, if he does come in, he's going to have to be a monster.
Just before,
by the way, I saw Carra's tackle on Soccer AM against Jimmy Bullard. Maybe Carra's looking to make a little bit of a comeback. Did you see that?
He only clipped him, though, didn't he? Didn't get him properly. He clipped him a little bit.
That was brilliant.
It was funny,
That was brilliant.
Just before we move on to just having a quick chat about the Newcastle game, do we all think we're going to win the league?
Of course, yeah. I know, all back us to the hills. Yeah, of course we do. I know, as long as we're getting players back from injury now. I think Thiago finally getting back fit. I think we might see him on the bench on Newcastle on Saturday. The next couple of days on Wednesday. He would have been ideal for someone like West Brom. We played them on Sunday, we're doing perfect. It's all about. It's going to be survival of the fittest now. I think as long as we don't get no major injuries to the front three, I think getting Jota back would help as well. As I said, it all depends what we do. If we can get someone in January to help us at the back as well, then I think we should, put a run of games together. And I don't think you'll concentrate much on the FA Cup. We're looking at the Champions League and the league, and I'm fully confident we can do it again.
Paul,
definitely. I'd say more relaxed and possibly more. I wouldn't say more confident because you're 18 points clear at certain points last year and 25 points clear. But I think we're the best team there, and the best team usually wins it. So. But I was looking at those, say, through when you're watching a game, you say watching Liverpool and not looking at it as Liverpool, as like a neutral fan. And 9 times out of 10, when you're watching us, you say, well, that team in the red are going to win that game. Even you're watching the first 20 minutes. We think we've got the best players, I think. All right, City would argue that. But I think we've got the best players. And there's no reason why we shouldn't win the league. So yeah, we should win it.
See?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think Steve mentioned Thiago then. Thiago is a true world-class player that we've got coming back into the team. And if you look at the Matip pass for Mane's goal, imagine it was Thiago playing those passes on a regular basis in that game. As Steve said, he would be ideal to break down a deep block. He's a fucking genius with the ball. He's unbelievable. So when you start thinking about who's coming in, we will sign a centre-back. I've got no doubt of that in January. We'll find one. We've got probably one of the best recruitment teams and, you know, scouting teams in the world. So they'll find someone of every faith in them. And then when you look at the guys we've got coming back, Jota to add, you know, competition up there, Thiago, yeah, absolutely.
How long's he been out for now, Jota?
A month.
Is it a month? So he's got another month to go, has he?
Yeah, it's between 6 and 8 weeks, I think so.
Yeah, we're there about.
Do you know the other thing, Gav? Do you know the other thing that I'll say is nobody really got that excited when we were bringing in Jota, right? Or some of the other players that we've brought in. It was like everyone wanted Werner, and then Jota comes in and does it. What you can't underestimate is the culture that's set at Liverpool under the manager makes players be better. You know, and when players come into Liverpool's environment, they get better just by being part of that culture on a daily basis. So even if someone doesn't look like a world beater, you can guarantee they're going to improve when they come to Liverpool. Every transfer that we've brought in recent times has improved at Liverpool. And that's all because of the culture that's set at the club by the manager.
Steve, looking ahead at Newcastle, how would you line up with the players that we think are available?
I don't think you go too many changes. I think this could be the one where Gini Wijnaldum gets a rest. I think he's played a ridiculous amount of minutes this season. This could be ideal for someone like Oxlade-Chamberlain to come in and just give us a bit more, just something a bit different going forward. We can get between the lines a little bit more. At the back, I think he probably, whether he sticks with Reece Williams or goes Nat Phillips alongside Fabinho, that's probably going to be the biggest decision of the day for the manager. Apart from that, I don't see too many other changes, really. I think Salah and Mane had a poorish game on a Sunday, which usually means they follow up with a very good game the week after. So I'll be Mo Salah especially. I think I think he was quiet on Sunday, and I've got a feeling that he's going to tear it up against Newcastle. So I don't see there being too many changes. Maybe as I said, just centre half, and I think Curtis Jones might keep his place, or Ox coming in somewhere else. But we need someone who's going to give us a bit more going forward. You know, because when Ox came on Sunday, the first thing he did when he got the ball was turn and run towards the opposition goal, which we lacked for the whole game. It was just too many sideways passes. So just something a bit different for me. But I can't see there being too many changes, I don't think, because I think he'll want to react. And Newcastle aren't exactly firing on all cylinders at the moment. They've got a lot of injuries themselves. Results haven't been great. They've been leaking a lot of goals. So I think our front three will be licking the lips.
Paul, Steve mentioned Curtis Jones there. He's had a bit of a hammering from the Commandos on Twitter, I see. What's your view on that? Because I absolutely hate it. But how do you see that?
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It's one of them things. I presume the players don't look at Twitter up to a point. So I'd like to think they didn't. People having a go at the lad. You would say it's an easy thing to say because you say, well, possibly I don't either, but you don't know nothing about the game. If you have, because of that one mistake he did for the ball that ends up getting headed out. Christ, what other things he's done during the game. It's people, as you say, it's the Twitter thing's a waste of time, to be honest with you. It's just like a balance. Some of the things people put on it about every team. As you look through every team, so they haven't fancied when they got beat by United last week. They were all having a go at everyone. Then he won on that was a Saturday, Sunday he played. Then everything's perfect again in the world. But that's what Twitter's like. I'm glad there was no Twitter and that when my dad was knocking around the football team, to be honest. Because
I'll be having straighteners every week, I think.
It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. Like, I'm only allowed to be on Twitter because I've got my own name on my Twitter handle, so I'm not allowed to have a separate one. So if I say anything, so well, that's Ronnie Moran's son, he shouldn't be saying that. So I'm only allowed to have one because I've got my name on it. Because you can get embroiled there. I just don't bother with it now. But people having a go at him, they don't know nothing about professional football at all, or really they don't know how to deal with other people at all either. And I think that's one of the problems now. And the main thing about it is it's not face to face. You know, you can call someone 20,000 miles away a dickhead, and you know nothing's going to happen.
Exactly.
You know,
Kenn Jones has been outstanding this season, by the way. He's really come on. Yeah. He's now classed as, for me, as a first team player. You know, he's took his opportunities when he has done, and I've seen him boss games and run the midfield on his own. So anyone give him any stick is just brain dead, in my opinion. And as Paul said, they're just these these lads on the internet sitting there who would absolutely shit themselves if you saw them in real life. So
yeah,
it's not to worry about for me.
No,
absolutely. I mean, we were only talking last week, Gav, about how big a future he's got, how well he's played, how he's not a squad player anymore, how he's cemented himself as a first team player. And actually, in the first half, I actually text a mate of mine saying Curtis Jones is going to be top draw, because I thought in the first half, I thought he was the one that wanted the ball. Now, did he create enough? No, but he was the one that wanted the ball. And I thought, as Steve said earlier about Oxlade-Chamberlain, the one thing he possesses is he gets teams out of shape, because when there's two things, you can move the ball and you can move the opposition. So when you've got someone like Ox between the lines, when he runs at someone, the defender has to make a decision. They have to either come and get pressure on the ball, right, or they need to stay in position. So if they come towards the ball, now all of a sudden you create space behind them and you can play around them. And if you've got someone who can play 1v1, then it can make it a 1v1 game in certain areas of the pitch. And Oxlade-Chamberlain is brilliant at that. And I think Curtis Jones has that ability as well. He's brilliant 1v1 for a central midfield player. So I think that if you had the two of them, so it wasn't just one that could do it against the lesser teams that sit in a deep block, then it gives you a different way to break down a deep block and move the opposition out of position.
Newcastle's obviously one of your old clubs. Is there any players that we need to look out for at Newcastle?
Tino Asprilla. Definitely Tino Asprilla.
He's a belter.
Listen, I'm a little bit biased, but I don't really know too much about the state of Newcastle's roster at this moment in time. But the guy Moran is somebody who can hit you in transition with his pace, breaking from midfield. He obviously played over here. I saw a lot of what he could do. And obviously he was in the top team in America. So he had the ball much more often, whereas at Newcastle he's defending a little bit more. But he's got true pace to be able to break lines. I think that Steve Bruce is going to set them up. He realises they're the weaker team. He's going to set them up to defend and try and hit in transition. And they've got a couple of forwards that can do that in transition. So it's going to be, will it be a 6 and a 4? I don't think Steve Bruce will go that defensive at home, but I think it's probably going to be a 5-4-1, I would imagine, which is what they played a lot last year, just to try and frustrate Liverpool.
Just before we change, score predictions, Paul.
2-0 for us.
Evo?
4-0.
You know what? I've got no idea. I mean, nothing will surprise me this year. Nothing will surprise me. I think Liverpool will win, though. Every time Liverpool kind of have a disappointment, they tend to bounce back with a decent performance next. So I think it will be a hungry, motivated Liverpool team. So I expect a Liverpool win, but no idea what the score is going to be, Gav. Or I have a lot more money than I've got.
You're not doing too bad, son. So I thought just before we go, I thought I've got you all here. And obviously Liverpool have moved from Melwood to Kirkby. I'm guessing that you've all spent time at Melwood at times. Obviously, Paul, were you at the Centre of Excellence when we were?
I was there for a couple of years, yeah.
Paul, did you spend much time down there?
Well, obviously with my dad over the years, because when I was 8, 9, 10, my dad was with the A and B teams at Liverpool, so I'd be there with him every weekend, going to watch the games there, and used to go and watch the training occasionally during the summer holidays, and lucky enough to train there myself for about 3 or 4 years when I was 14 to 17. And I've got nothing but happy memories of the place. Used to have a good laugh there. Have
you boys got any stories that you can maybe spring to mind of anything?
I used to go there when Gerard Houllier first came in and was the joint manager thing with me dad. They asked me to go in and start, and I used to go in and look at the team we were playing the week after. They had this big old computer, and they asked me to edit all the set plays and all the corners of the opposing team. So I think I was in there doing that, which used to be a bit mad. Sit there for hours and hours just cutting these tapes and then putting all the corners in. These are all the corners, these are all the free kicks, these are all set up. Then we put them all together on the tape.
It's not Ste Evans, it's Steven Spielberg. Look at that, the fucking video editor there. Look at that.
Hollywood now.
But I remember when we used to go,
Jurassic Park.
they had that shale pitch, which was fucking awful. If
The
I'm
all
honest.
weather, that was called. That was the all weather.
Oh, it was terrible to play football. The ball was here, there, and everywhere. It wasn't.
You ever fell over on that? You knew about it.
Didn't you just? Yeah.
Oh, blimey.
Do you know? It's amazing though seeing the evolution, Steve, Paul, from the players getting changed at Anfield and then getting the bus down every day to training because there was no real facilities at Melwood, and then seeing it evolve, to what it became. I mean, I remember the first time I went back. Obviously, I was there as a kid, then there as a YTS as well, and I remember going back like years later to watch training when Benitez was there. And I couldn't get my head around the fact that the clubhouse or the building had now gone from one side to the other. It was bizarre.
Yeah.
It was bizarre. It was absolutely bizarre. Like going there and thinking, well, how have they moved it from there to there? And it was hard to get your bearings when you went back when he changed it. Have you been back much, Paul, Steve, since they've moved the building?
I've only been once back since then. Yeah, I mean, it's just completely changed. When I remember going to the first show, she goes, go down. I used to always love going to watch training if I could. My dad used to always go in on a Sunday sometimes, or go like on the players' days off, and I used to love that. Go for a little run around the pitches or just messing around with the ball and stuff. I couldn't believe the difference. Talk about polar opposites. It was so basic when I first used to go there. Just proper old school changing rooms, showers and stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like state of the art sports science centres, the whole lot really. Like it's just shows how football's evolved over the past sort of 10, 15 years. It's absolutely insane. I mean, I just love going there. Like I see them, the old characters used to be there, like John Benno and Tom Saunders, and seeing all them. They used to be such lovely people, and spending time with them people there. That's all like the memories of my childhood. And Phil Thompson swearing his head off everywhere, stuff like that. They were all good memories.
I tell you a funny one, Steve. When your dad was obviously the manager and Ronnie was with him, I remember coming in. It was when Neil Ruddock came. Sammy Lee was the coach, and what we used to do is, the canteen at the end when he brought in the little canteen at the end and it was next to physio room. They added it on actually to the original building. Well, I remember we were all waiting. Neil Ruddock comes in, like he's a few minutes late, right? So Sammy Lee's going mad because we used to start our warm up at 10 o'clock. So Ruddock's walking down. He's walking on and there was the raised bit, the walkway that was raised a little bit on the outside of the changes. So he was walking down, and Sammy Lee said, "Razor, you've got however many minutes, 2 or 3 minutes until we start training. You hurry up, you better be out here." So anyway, he comes out, and Razor comes out and he rushes. He's got his ankles taped, no socks on, shorts and a t-shirt. And Sammy Lee goes, "Razor, why are you late? Why are you late?" He goes, I'm sorry, Sauce. He goes, he used to call Sammy Lee Sausage. He goes, "I'm sorry, Sauce, but my battery was flat." He goes, "All the money you've got, why didn't you get a taxi?" He went, "Not my car, Sauce, in my alarm clock." It was one of the funniest things I've ever. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And then it was just how, everything just went. Everyone started laughing, and then it was. But it was, the best thing that I remember about it is really the laughs. The amount of, even like when you go back to playing there as kids, you go back. You're saying speaking to, it's the people, right, Steve, Paul. It's the people there, the conversations you had. I mean, you can imagine our youth team there with Cara, Lee Pryor, Jamie Cassidy, Stevie G was coming through. The banter was brilliant. David Thompson. I mean, it was the memories. It was just brilliant memories.
We talk about Tom Saunders there. The one always makes me laugh, and I remember it. They'd been training, and Tom was supposed to, as he was getting older, he had trouble walking, Tom. He used to limp around everywhere. Well, he'd come in, and he'd left the ball about 100 yards away from the changing rooms. So they're all looking out the window of Melwood, and my dad's, Roy, whatever. "Hey, Tom, you've left the ball over there. You better go and get it." So Tom's got to make his way back 100 yards over the field to get the ball. But they all knew it wasn't a ball, it was a seagull. But Tom thought it was a ball. So he walks 70, 80 yards to it. And as he gets near it, the seagull takes off. And he turned around and everyone's on the balcony, as you say, watching. He's like, "You bastards." Like, he come all the way back. Thought it was a ball, it was a seagull. They knew, like, they sent him on a, say wild goose chase then, but it was a seagull. Like, but always one that makes me laugh, that.
Yeah, I always imagine your dad now when he sees how mollycoddled some of these players are. He must imagine your dad come by them, Paul. Jesus.
It wouldn't work.
I mean, my mum used to, funny enough, my mum used to take the kids home after the matches and wash the kids in the house. That's how bad it must have was. They couldn't send us to the laundrette because they come back with a number 6 and number 7 missing because they sort of robbed the shirts.
We used to do the socks. My dad used to bring the socks. They used to split the kit. My dad would bring the socks. So outside our house in Thornton where we lived, there's the washing line. 24 socks on it, or 28 socks, whatever it was, red socks all on the line.
But it's madness, isn't it? Because it was, if you think the iconic status of your dads, and I was there, they were picking up the gear.
Yeah.
You know, they're picking up the gear. Like Paul, Steve, after games, we'd sit in not the boot room, but the room next to the boot room.
Yeah.
And it was the dads that were doing the gear, like washing the gear, picking the gear up. I mean, coaches don't do that now.
No.
You know, coaches don't do that now. Players now, we aren't even allowed to clean boots. You know, there isn't really a boot room where the YTs go in and clean the boots anymore.
But the boots don't get dirty now, though, do you know? The way the pitches are, the boots don't get dirty.
Like
they used to.
Yeah.
Well, they're not leather, are they? They're just plastic or whatever they're made of, and they just wipe them.
Yeah.
Paul, I remember listening to a podcast with Graham Souness when he was first at Liverpool and he wasn't playing, he had a suit on. And they come in after the game and there's like all the kits on the floor, jock straps everywhere and all that. And Graham Souness is there with his gear on. And your dad went to him, "Is there something fucking wrong with you?" And he went, "No, I'm all right." He went, "Get picking the kits up now." And it was that, he said that made me realise that we're all in this together. There's no hierarchy. We pick everyone's gear up and it's a team. Do you know what I mean? And there's loads of stories. You must have loads of stories here, Alpha.
Like stories that we used to have to shout, "Put the socks the right way around." I always remember that one. Yeah. After he said, because I never went in the dressing room first team games because that was something that never happened. But reserve games, I'd sit in the dressing room while they're getting ready and after the games and that. Well, get your socks the right way around. I always remember that. The other one used to get bollocked if they unravel the sock and just threw it. "Whose is that? Get that back on. Sort it out."
Big timers, he called it. Big timers or big heads. That was
big heads.
Big heads, yeah.
Oh yeah. Everyone was a big head.
Do you know what the funny story about? You're just talking about Souness. I think when he, I think there's a story, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. But when he first signed, I think he went up to your dad, Paul, and said, "What do you want me to do in this situation?" Yeah. And he goes, "We've just spent however many 100,000 on you, and you're asking me how to play football. Go out there and play." And I thought that was brilliant.
It's supposed to be the first game he played at West Brom. Yeah. He played West Brom away, and it was in the dressing room there. And he said no one had told him any tactics or what they wanted him to do. And I said, "What do you want us to do?" "Fucking hell, don't you know?" Like, he said, "Just paid 352 grand for you to go and sort it out yourself."
Brilliant.
Well, listen, boys, thank you very much. It's been great listening to you. And if you are watching this on YouTube, give us a quick subscribe. But from the boys and me, thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you again in the next one. Thanks.